Morrissey Show. Today is Monday, May 11th, 2015. Joining me now, as not always on Mondays, Andrew Malcolm of Investors Business Daily, investors.com/Andrew Malcolm, the Prince of Twitter at AH Malcolm. And we don't usually do this on Mondays, but I'm going to be doing some traveling this week, Andrew, and I didn't want to let a week go by without consulting the oracle of Andrew.
Yeah, the Prince of Twitter. Yeah, that's good. Well, I'm good with that. I'm always good with it.
Well, lots to talk about, lots to discuss. I don't know how much you've been paying attention to this whole Mark Halperin thing. I'm just checking.
Amazing, isn't it?
Well, and he
I'm
apologized
hearing myself,
today.
By the way.
What's that?
I hear myself, by the way.
You do hear yourself. Well, I'm going to try to fix that, because that's the kind of guy I am, and I think I just lost Andrew altogether. With that fix,
No, I'm here.
Is that any better?
Both of me are here.
Both.
Yeah.
Of course, because we're doing this. We're doing this on a day that's not a Tuesday. So
just go. We don't have that much time, and I value and treasure my moments with the Edward.
Well, there you go. Wow, I'm not sure who's blowing more smoke today, me or you, Andrew. But okay, so let's talk about Mark Halperin.
Yeah, and then after that, let's talk about Cy Hirsch.
Oh, absolutely. That was the other story I wanted to get to today. But let's start with Mark Halperin. Mark Halperin interviewed Ted Cruz. Now, I'm not going to play the audio because I don't have it handy because I had to switch computers today. But because it's just been all sorts of fun here at the Ed Morrissey Show for open source production values. But this was Mark Halperin interviewing Ted Cruz. Some people are really interested in you and your identity. I just wanted to ask you as a historical matter, when you filled out your application to Princeton, to Harvard Law School, did you list yourself as Hispanic? Later he said, do you have an affinity or connection to anything part of your Cuban past? Do you have a favorite Cuban food, Cuban dish? Do you like Cuban music? Do you have a favorite Cuban singer? I am at a loss to understand what Mark Halperin thought he was doing with this thing.
He was playing gotcha.
But it's so off the rails that even Think Progress, and I hesitate to link these guys, but even Think Progress says this may be the most racist interview of the 2016 cycle.
Yeah, and it's so early yet.
Yeah.
I know, it's embarrassing. He is an alleged professional, and I guess everybody can make mistakes, but wow, that's a doozy. Can you imagine? And of course, there's this meme going on Twitter of Mark, what was it? Halperin questions.
Yes.
And there were some pretty funny ones about what that style interviewing, what kind of questions that would produce for some of the other candidates. Peggy Noonan had a great one. Tell me, Governor O'Malley, was something about his grandparents in Ireland. Did they talk like Barry Fitzgerald in the movies? Yeah, the one thing he didn't ask Cruz was, can you dance? Can you salsa? Can you dance? Or can you roll a cigar for me? It's I have no explanation for it except it's sometimes, as you know, Ed, if you don't have an editor for some reason, you can go off the rails and something looks perfectly good, whether it's typographically or, a misspelling looks like it isn't misspelled, or in this case, the context and the format of a questions. And there isn't somebody there to say, whoa, geez, I don't know. Let's rethink these, Mark.
Yeah.
He didn't have a backup that day, although that's hard to believe. But you can
that internal editor just wasn't working for Mark Halperin. Yeah.
No, and it's a human condition, but not on such a public stage, and not to the degree that he took it.
Yeah.
And you could tell. I mean, Cruz was being a good guy about it and answering some of the questions. And I loved his one about Cuban music. He said, "Well, I gotta, I'm I'm Texan, so I'm country all the way."
Yeah.
But
I would have said Tito Fuente just to see if Mark Halperin knew who that was. And the only reason I know that is because I'm a big fan of the movie Stripes. And there's that one exchange at the beginning of Stripes where his girlfriend is saying, "You sit around all day listening to those Tito Fuente albums," and he goes, "Tito Fuente's going to die one of these days." And you're going to say, "I used to listen to him back before anybody else knew who he was." I would have just said it just to see.
yeah, uh, well, he's embarrassed. He got caught out, and
Apologized.
we'll see. We'll see if it has any impact.
Well, he
Well, going
apologized.
going for
He
yeah.
he
Well,
did.
great. It's
Well,
terrific. I mean,
I want to read you what Ted Cruz wrote about this. Not, I mean, I am not surprised in the least when you hear what Ted Cruz has to say about this because this is the standard response, right? Mark Halperin is a serious and fair minded journalist. Today, he kindly issued an apology for some silly questions he asked me in an interview. The apology was unnecessary, no offense was taken, nor I believe intended, but is certainly appreciated. I am proud of my Cuban heritage, my father's journey from oppression and prison in Cuba to freedom in
yeah,
America, and also my Irish Italian heritage on my mother's side. Both are integral parts of who I am today. And it goes on. There's another paragraph about the American dream and we need to find the candidate who best supports it and that sort of thing. I mean, this is the standard sort of, yeah, thanks for apologizing for embarrassing yourself because you certainly didn't embarrass me. and
yeah.
but
Right.
I don't want to dwell on this because it's not part of where I want to go.
Yeah. So you look big and magnanimous, and then you get in your message. So it was a
Exactly.
free opportunity for Cruz to get in
Yeah,
his message about being Cuban, and
yeah. This is what we call in the political biz a lob.
yeah,
This is
yeah.
a lob.
This this is an easy layup.
Yeah,
And
if you can't hit this one, you don't even belong in the game, man. You should retire immediately.
yeah, go send him to the bench. Yeah. Well, yeah, I think you chose to do the show today simply because of that interview.
Probably, probably, but look, I mean, uh, this is part of the issue with identity politics, and
Yeah.
the only reason why this is getting so much attention is just because it happens to be the worst possible example of it, where you've got Mark Halperin basically ask. And this is, I think, what Faust. I think this is Fausta put it this way. Is she in the chat? No, she's not in the chat room, but I think it was Fausta who said that basically Halperin was looking for Ted Cruz to do his version of Texas Pete. The old Desi
Yeah.
Arnaz song
Yeah.
on the show, and Ted Cruz was just really not in the mood to do Ricky Ricardo. Um, this
And then
is
and then that soundbite would be there forever.
well, not only that, but it's not evenly applied. How when was the last
No,
time?
of course not. No, you're absolutely
When
right,
was
and
the last
that's the
time you saw
crime.
somebody
That's
ask? Yeah, I mean, yeah,
that's the crime. That's the crime. And Hillary Clinton, of course, isn't taking questions, but if she was, you could ask her some of the fashion questions that they asked Sarah Palin. Back in '08, I got so angry at the reporters writing about Sarah Palin's red shoes and her skirts and blouses and her hair and witch glasses today and all that crap that I did a whole blog item about Joe Biden's wardrobe. Um, and as you know, it's a dark blue or black suit every single day with a blue tie so it doesn't clash on television, and the same damn brown shoes or black shoes every day. So I had a lot of fun poking. Obviously, that had a huge impact, and things
yeah.
have changed now in politics. But it, it's it's um, it's an extraordinary experience, a thing to watch, and the tone that I mean, he apologized. I'm not sure. I don't know him, so I shouldn't say, but he had to apologize given the uproar. I don't even know whether he realizes the need for the apology. He had to do it
Well, I think he realizes it
from
now.
a PR point of view, but I'm not sure about the sincerity of it. He and the others, I mean, did anybody back in when was it? Oh, it was 2000. Did anybody ask Al Gore name the president of Pakistan?
No.
No, but they asked George W. and true to form, he didn't know. And so what? In an '08 debate, Democrat debate, Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama, neither one knew the name, how to pronounce the name of Dmitry Medvedev, the Russian president at the time. And there's no stink about that. There's no trying to draw a larger lesson of ignorance
Right.
for them. So it is the double standard. It's sad. It does provide a very handy meme for conservatives, but it's too bad for the democracy and for media, which used to be seen as
Serious?
serious, yeah, as honest representatives of voters
Yeah.
who would be asking the questions. And to his credit, Larry King did this. He did this very well. He asked straight and tough questions of everybody. And that was one reason I can speak to, let's see, it was 99 and 2000. That was one reason why uh, the Bush people went with a Larry King interview. One for George W. and Laura Bush, and another one when Bush picked Dick Cheney, because Larry King had had a heart attack. He's had more heart attacks than wives, and uh, and Larry King was not necessarily sympathetic, but he knew what it is to have a heart attack, and he knew was a living example of you can go on and do very good things. There was some concern at the time in some circles about can Dick Cheney handle the pressures of vice president? Obviously, he did.
Right.
So uh, there are those in the media. They get overlooked. And Larry King, of course, has been farmed out. So,
Yeah. Well, yeah. All right.
um,
So let's move on because I know you want to talk about Cy Hirsch.
yes.
Cy Hirsch. Now, here's an interesting
Holy
guy.
smokes! What a blockbuster story, and I get this is a bigger story to me, I guess, than the world. But jeepers creepers, Hirsch really he has a he's very controversial, as you know,
Oh yeah.
and and personally, he's very abrasive. I mean,
You could tell
there's a
that in his Cuomo interview this morning because Chris Cuomo says, "Welcome to the show." He goes, "Okay,
yeah, yeah, right.
all right,
He's one of these guys, and he doesn't get along well with coworkers, and that's actually a good trait uh, for investigative reporters like Hirsch. They don't have time for small talk and let's go to Subway for lunch. It's all business all the time, and he can be a real pain in the ass, especially if you're editing his stories. Uh, but darn it, he keeps coming up with these stories. I mean, he started in '68 with the
that's Me Lie,
me,
right?"
yeah, with the My Lai massacre. And the same sort of thing happened then. You start with oh, this is ridiculous. It couldn't possibly happen. Uh, and you start with what the dynamics of these things are. And I suppose we should say that the story has many facets. I wrote my column this morning about it. People can go to investors.com/Andrew Malcolm if they want. And
No, they're
uh,
required to
and
do it.
and
They're required to do that. It's not if you
yes, they
want.
are required. There's
You're.
no choice about it.
This is
It's like
homework.
vaccinations. You have to go. Yeah. And there are a lot of points to the story, but one of them, two major ones are that the Pakistanis knew that this, or at least the top intelligence people knew that this raid was going on, which explains how the helicopters got in and out without trouble, how they blew up one helicopter, had gunfire and explosions and fires at the Bin Laden house. and that there was a local power failure, and nobody responded from the military post just down the street. Um, but of course, they had to do this for their own protection. And the other one, which really struck me, was the whole Obama narrative about the dogged determination of and the bravery of Obama making the decision to go. They knew he was there. There was a Pakistani intel guy who walked in, not because of anything that the U.S. did. He walked into the embassy, talked to the CIA guy, chief of station, and said, "I know where Osama bin Laden is living."
So
And
so
of
you're
course,
so you're
huh?
thinking so you're thinking that Cy Hirsch is onto something because
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, and his My Lai story, his Abu Ghraib story. Here's the thing. It's like what's how do you say say uh, not he's controversial for two reasons. One, because he does stories that embarrass regular reporters who should have done them in the first place. And that's what you see motivating the debunking of his story now. And two, because not everything works out, as with every story. And so, not all of Cy Hirsch's investigations have proven to be 100% the way he presented them. On
well
the other hand, the ones that he does are nuclear bombs, like the two I've already mentioned,
yeah well
and
but
and this one, and it shows that Obama and his people were lying about the narrative. I mean, this bravery of the decision. They knew he was there. They as soon the guy walked in, he says, "I know where the house is, and I want the $25 million reward." And of course, walk-ins are notoriously unreliable. So they flew in, the CIA flew in a polygraph team. They gave him the test. He passed with flying colors. Well, they said, well, maybe there's something to this. So they stationed a satellite. They programmed a satellite to monitor the house. They put in Pakistani agents into the neighborhood and started watching the house. And I'll be darned, he was there. And so this doesn't take anything away from the analysts who were tracking him all this time, or especially from the SEALs, their bravery and skills who came in because they didn't know what they were going to find. The house could have been bugged, rigged for explosives. The ceiling or the roof could have been rigged so the helicopter lands and boom, everything goes. The one thing the SEALs didn't plan for was the backdraft from the rotor blades in the confined courtyard. So backdraft came up, tipped the one house secret helicopter over, and they had to blow up the instruments. Unfortunately, that left a special metal compound for people who are friends of ours to study. But so we got them. The Pakistanis have all kinds of motivations on their part because apparently, according to Cy Hirsch's account, the Saudis were paying the Pakistanis to take care and protect
now see
Osama bin
this is
Laden.
the part, Andrew, that I just cannot swallow.
Oh
Th-
boy, I can.
this is the part I cannot swallow because here's the problem. Al Qaeda has made it very clear that one of their primary goals is to wipe out the Saudi royal family government and to take over possession of Mecca and Medina. I mean, that's Osama bin Laden has been one of their enemies since the early days of Afghanistan, and it's one of the reasons why he's been skirting around that area rather than getting close to Saudi Arabia. I mean, I might be able to buy that the Saudis wanted the Pakistanis to hold him until they could get to him, but I don't buy for a moment, not for a moment, that the Saudi government was paying the Pakistanis to keep Osama bin Laden safe because, again,
Isolated, yeah. Well, we'll never know whether and I'm not sure that this is a marginal part of the story. Whether the Pakistanis, I mean, that could have been an excuse the Pakistanis were citing for why you need to pay us some more money because we're going to really piss off the Saudis by helping Americans or allowing Americans to do what they're going to do anyway. But I didn't see the Saudis cracking down on the Bin Laden family. and I didn't see them stopping their funding of suicide bombers in the West Bank. So
Well, that part's
th-
true.
they've been up to skullduggery, duplicitous skullduggery in a number of places, and I don't pretend to understand all the motivations in that region of the world.
Well,
Nor,
I'll buy
nor
that
nor
they're
do I want to. But
I'll buy the duplicitous skullduggery, but usually it's because it's benefiting themselves.
yeah, yeah.
Whereas
Well,
putting
as
putting
as a
him up
lot
at
of skullduggery does,
right,
as
but
the Clinton Foundation.
well, exactly. Well, we can get to that in a minute too. But I don't see the benefit of making sure Osama for the benefit for the Saudi royal family and the government, the dictatorship, if you will, the absolute monarchy that Al Qaeda wanted to undermine of spending money keeping this guy happy, healthy, and ensconced in a suburb like Abbottabad. I mean,
Yeah.
uh,
But on the other hand, I mean, I'm not necessarily arguing this point, but on the other hand, when the Saudis see Iran developing their bomb with the virtual blessing of the U.S., and they call the Pakistanis, they come running now. So,
yeah,
and they're going to help the Saudis develop their own bomb as part of this arms race, and talk about skullduggery and ineptness in the region. So, yeah, no, you're right. That's a puzzling part of the story. The main part of the story sounds right. Remember, this is 2011, and the very next month, I believe it was June, Obama started with his Al Qaeda is on the run.
oh
Remember,
yeah,
Al Qaeda's leadership is decimated. They're on the run, and Osama bin Laden is dead.
yeah,
And that became his meme throughout the campaign.
it did indeed.
Uh, and uh, and it sounded obviously it worked. It sounded good. And people, even last night when this story started to break in London, uh, people were saying, "Well, it took Obama to get Osama bin Laden." Yeah, and 25 million to uh, uh, a uh, a rat to turn him in. So it's I love these spy stories, and I mean that's why I love John le Carre and George Smiley and all that crowd. So and the fact that I know Hirsch a little bit, he is abrasive, and I don't want to say obnoxious, but I will many times, and especially in personal relationships. But he does come up with blockbuster stories, and if I remember when the Edward Snowden stuff first started coming out, Obama was on his Africa trip, and he dismissed him in passing as I'm not going to comment on a quote mere hacker. So uh,
Yeah, good point.
Obama has a record of misreading
Well, that I
when
will
it's
agree.
to his benefit. Yes.
All right. Well, we got about 5 minutes left.
Okay.
What's going on with Hillary Clinton and the Clinton Foundation?
They're playing their game of stonewalling and hoping that it grows old. And no matter how much comes out, I suspect there's more to come. No
Yeah.
matter how much comes out, they'll just say it's well, that's old. And but this will be revived again later this month when she goes before the Benghazi committee. Maybe not so much the foundation, but her problems and the unsavory odor surrounding most things that the Clintons do.
You see, Reuters came out today to note that the Clinton Foundation had told yet another lie about their records. The Clinton Foundation had said, "Well, look, all of our government grants are disclosed on our website." And then
Mm.
Reuters went over there and said, "Well, actually, they're not." And
Really? Oh, I hadn't seen
yeah,
that.
that was this morning. If you get a
Yeah.
chance, you should catch up to that one because it's an interesting article because basically this is another one of these Clintonian things where they're saying, well, yeah, but it's what we really meant to say was that all of our grants are listed on there the money is all commingled, but basically it's all, we've disclosed everything that we're supposed to disclose. In New York Magazine, I can't remember who it was. It wasn't Jonathan Chait. Gabriel Sherman wrote that this is following the same pattern as so many other Clinton scandals, which is to say, a scandal breaks out in the open. The Clintons claim they're being persecuted. The people who are involved in it are saying that they want to be that they want to be treated differently than everybody else, and the scandal just gets worse because of all of this bickering that goes on. In this case, in the New York Magazine case, Charity Navigator had put them on a watch list because Charity Navigator had found out that they're spending most of the money they take in on internal expenses,
and private jets and salaries and
right.
Yeah, it's only 10% of their hundreds of millions that goes to actual charity work.
Right.
To me, it's stunning, but it's like we get back to the Mark Halperin story. It's a double standard, and people go, well, okay, but we still want her. So if you're reading the polls overall, you can say, boy, this is really depressing. People still want Hillary. But if you read, as you do, the internal numbers, you see that it's Democrats who still want Hillary. I don't know how long they'll hang on, but the middle of the road independents are flaking off and growing numbers. And of course, Republicans aren't there in the first place. So we'll see. The stonewalling has worked, and there's no reason from their point of view, the Clintons, to change it.
Well, yeah, there's no reason to change it. All right, last media question I've got for you today.
That's right. We can't have a week without jokes, eh?
Well, before we get to the jokes, the last thing I'm going to bring up to you, this is another media story. I'm trying to find the exact quote here, so give me just a second. Here we go. You know who George Zimmerman is, right?
Yes.
All right. George Zimmerman was shot in the face today. Apparently not seriously injured, but he was shot in the face in what appears to be some sort of road rage incident. Somebody fired into his car and hit him someplace in the face. He's been treated, but he's not seriously injured. This was the Associated Press's headline that went out on Twitter. Breaking. Police say officers have responded to shooting involving George Zimmerman in Florida. Not George Zimmerman getting shot, but that he was involved in a shooting.
Yeah. You can do that. That kind of stuff goes on, obviously, all the time.
I'm not a big fan of George Zimmerman, but, come on. He wasn't involved in a shooting. He got shot.
Well, what was he doing there?
Driving, apparently.
Right. This happens to pro athletes too. They say, "Oh, gee, they were involved. And they got taken in by police. They were at this nightclub at 2 a.m." Well, wait a minute. If you're a professional athlete, what are you out partying at 2 a.m. for?
Well, yeah.
Bad
idea.
No, but you've got the double. It's a double standard. So we don't know the story yet with George Zimmerman, but you're absolutely right. He was. George Zimmerman. Once again, he's a victim. Or wait, no.
Well,
wait.
Not that either. But just involved in a shooting.
Stand your ground in a car.
Yeah, he was involved in a shooting. He wasn't shot in the face. His face was cut by the glass that came through the window. So that he was shot at. How's that?
Shot at. Yeah, the nerve of Zimmerman once again.
That evil George Zimmerman. Now he's forcing people to shoot at him. Okay.
Come on, you want a piece of me?
Make my day. Go ahead, make my day. You just got to ask yourself, do you feel lucky, punk?
You remember at the convention when Clint Eastwood came out, I was on the floor, all the exciting, they could see him in the wings and the buzz started on the floor. And then he came out and the people started shouting and he said, I know, I promise I'll get to it. And then at the end, he said, "Go ahead, make my day."
Go ahead.
This will become the iconic Clint Eastwood statement.
I still kind of think that speech was fun. I mean,
And remember in The Unforgiven, what was his name in the George
William Money. William
huh?
Money.
William Moneypenny?
No, just
No,
Money.
Money. William Money. I'll see you in hell, William Money. I reckon you will.
Boom.
Yeah, yeah. Uh,
All right, so
what a guy.
the jokes of the week.
The jokes of the week. Well, we got some good ones, I think, this week. Conan says that Amazon has just dropped girl and boy from the description of their children's toys. The children's toys are now all listed under one category: crap made in China.
Well, that's at
And
least more
Jimmy
accurate.
Fallon said that Google spent $5 million lobbying in Washington during the first quarter of this year, which is crazy. You'd think Google wouldn't really need to lobby politicians or spend any money. All it has to do is say, "We have your search history."
Yeah, that would do it.
And finally, Jimmy Fallon, he says there's an Indiana Jones sequel in the works. This time, the ancient relic everyone is searching for is Indiana Jones.
Dun, 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 dun. All right. Well, Andrew, thanks so much for taking time out of your busy Monday to do a special
it's
edition
okay.
of our weekly chat. But we'll be back next Tuesday
Yeah.
at the regular time, so people can
Okay.
tune in
So
for
8
that.
days.
8 days from now, we will be back here doing this. So thanks again, Andrew.
Okay. Oh, you bet.
Andrew Malcolm.
Have a good week. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, sir. Andrew Malcolm, Investors Business Daily, investors.com/Andrew Malcolm, the Prince of Twitter at AH. It would be nice if I'd had that card up right now. Obviously, need a little bit more practice on the transitions there. I want to thank everybody for being here today. Sorry it's a short show, but I thought it would be a good idea to have some sort of show this week, and I certainly didn't want to miss out on Andrew. So I'm traveling this week. I'll be back on. You'll see me at Hot Air, but I won't be able to do shows from the road. And I'll be back on Monday. Well, I'll be back on Tuesday for the Ed Morrissey show with Andrew, and then a week from Thursday with Dwayne. And so I'll be looking forward to talking to you then. I want to thank the folks in the chat room today. Got quite a few people in the chat room, considering the the short notice. We did talk about this on Thursday, but thank you for being here. Cranky T-Rex, crankytrex.blogspot.com, at Cranky T-Rex on the Twitters. It's Duke of the Dance. He is here every single show to make sure that things run the way they are supposed to run. And that's a really good thing, because they do on his end. Usually it's my end that's the problem. So that gives you an idea of the technical talent disparity between the show host and the chat room mod. So thanks again, Duke. Lady Logician is here. She's able to be here today. So thank you for holding the troll gun today and keeping the chat room safe for democracy. Let's play a little walking music. Who all's been in the chat room? Don't forget to put your own URLs up in the chat room, folks. We're all about shameless blog promotion here at the Ed Morrissey Show. We've got Bob Knox, Breck Nichols, Bruce Dritz, Conservative and Liberal Hands, Cuban Lid. I almost want to sing Texas, or is it Cuban Beat? It's Cuban Beat. Is the Cuban Beat. That's Cuban Lid. JeffDunnits.com, folks. JeffDunnits.com. E4 and Think Spell, 12th. Juanito Cabron, Waiko, Mr. Fastbucks, one of the fabulous couples here today with us. Steve A, NoBurningEggs.com, back in the chat room. The last inept something or other. Last inept Dem for Prez. Well, that's definitely T-Red. That's T-Red. Via Paso with the Ancestral Morse events. And the first mate somewhere out there keeping me on the straight and narrow. All right, folks, don't forget, a week from tomorrow, we will be back. 4 p.m. Eastern Time on the 19th. 3 p.m. Central, 1 on the left coast. Until then, we'll Well, have yourselves a great week. And don't miss a minute. The Ed Morrissey Show, even when the Ed Morrissey Show is busy missing minutes. Have a great afternoon, folks. See you later.